Texas finds a way to get it done yesterday over Vanderbilt in Austin. Final score, Longhorns 34, Vandy 31. What do you take away from this game? Maybe specifically if you're a Texas fan, how are you feeling now about Arch Manning? Because before the year, you're talking about him being a Heisman Trophy favorite and the number one overall pick. We always thought that was a bit aggressive. Ohio State game happens, and everyone's talking about him being a flop relative to his expectations in the world of college football, which, whose fault is it for having those expectations? I digress. And then yesterday, he puts on another clinic performance to go with what he did against Mississippi State, over 300 yards. Texas offense looks great. We'll unpack all that right now. Before we do that, though, one, this reaction presented by BetMGM. Two, the hard count on the On3 YouTube channel is every single day. This college football show is every single day. So if you love college football with every fiber of your being, you're a Texas fan that just wants to track your Longhorns, make sure you're subscribed right here. If you're a Vandy fan as well, make sure you're subscribed. We appreciate y'all. So that's what it's supposed to look like offensively for Texas. Run the football, ball out quick, complementary style of offense. I think before the year, there was so much stock put into the Arch Manning of it all. He's going to be the next great Manning. He's going to just take the college football world by storm. Like, it's not ever really what Steve Sarkisian's offenses have been built like. It's been built on being able to run the football. Okay, had a 1,000-yard rusher every year he's been at Texas. And then it's being able to make explosive plays off of that. It's kind of how this whole thing is diagnosed. Remember when 2 weeks ago, folks asked the question, should Steve Sarkisian be the play caller at Texas? And we came on this very show and said, that's ridiculous. Don't listen to that. Saban wanted him to be his play caller. Should count for something. The NFL wanted him to be their play caller. The Falcons, that is. Okay, that should count for something. The Mannings trusted their nephew to the play-calling tutelage of a one Steve Sarkisian. That should count for something. But no, everyone wants to get caught up in the idea that, well, the offense kind of struggled against Oklahoma in some ways, right? And then they couldn't score against Kentucky in the same way, right? Texas, it must be a Sark thing. Again, forget the fact that he's had a top 25 scoring offense every year he's been at Texas besides this year, but I digress. Since that moment, since that press conference, Texas as an offense, the last 2 weeks, has scored 72 total points combined. You think Sark just woke up and figured it out offensively? You think he just got a new playbook or something? No. It's surprising, but when you run the football at the level Texas ran the football at yesterday, with Trey Wisner averaging 4 yards a carry, and you get the ball out of Arch Manning's hands quickly, and the offensive line's able to hold it down a little bit more easily because they have less on their plate, good things happen. It was never a Sark problem. It was always an execution problem. And the approach, too, I think the way they adapted that to their personnel to better suit them, you saw the dividends yesterday. You saw it last week as well. Arch Manning and the way that he just looks like he's more comfortable out there, I'm happy for him because of all the conversation around him after the Ohio State game and all the things said about him as being a flop in college football. That's one part of this. But he just looks so much more comfortable, doesn't he? Like I was telling Cato before the show, he seems like he's just caring less in a really positive way. Like, I've never met Arch Manning, but whenever I hear him in interviews or wherever I have seen him in little clips on social media, he seems like a pretty, sarcastic, dry, funny dude. And yesterday before the game, ESPN's doing their promo in some sense of, hey, after this game, Texas Vandy, make sure you're tuned in. And Arch is out there pump faking at the camera, like trying to scare the camera guy a little bit. This is a dude who's about to go play a ranked Vanderbilt team. This is a team in Texas that's got 2 losses. Like, Arch, it's not really time to joke around, brother. There's another clip I saw before the game, about to run out of the tunnel. Arch, this is how I interpret it, screams at the camera. It looked like he was being sarcastic, like just kind of doing something funny before they ran out on the field. Again, I might be taking a lot from little here, but Arch Manning seems much more comfortable in his own skin as a starting quarterback in college football, and I think that's a big reason why you're seeing him play the way he's playing. Go back to the Ohio State game. I don't want to keep doing this, but let's just do it together. Couple of throws out there where Arch Manning's just dirting them, dude. Like open receiver, it's dialed up for success, and Arch Manning is just looking tight, looking like he's thinking as he throws it, dirts a few of those footballs. Kind of eyebrow-raising stuff. And we're all sitting there saying, I think a lot of quarterbacks across the country, especially in the SEC, can complete that curl route, can make that throw on the run. Like, what is going on with number 16 for Texas? Yesterday, I saw a quarterback play with confidence, play with conviction, not second-guessing himself, quite frankly, not thinking too much. Arch is seeing it, he's trusting it, he's letting it rip. And so I think this is a good moment for all of us to just understand quarterbacks, especially when they're in their first year starting, you can't account for live bullets. Like, I understand this thought, and we said this on this show, like, he should be in better position to be successful because he sat for Texas at 2 years. That's pretty straightforward. But he wasn't playing for Texas for those last 2 years. He was getting reps. He was doing things during the week for the scout team, I'm sure, to some respect, if that's something you had Arch Manning doing at any point during his Texas career. But you can't account for live reps. And he's gotten more of those now. I mean, he's at the point now where he's gotten a full season's worth of those, or 2/3 of a season now. And I think you're seeing the dividends of that. Yes, physically, but even more so just mentally for Arch. And when he cuts it loose, he is more than good enough for Texas to win football games. Now, on the defensive side, that's the defensive line for Texas that I signed up for in the preseason. Seeing Colin Simmons wreak havoc, seeing Anthony Hill out there hunting, and they had done that to a certain point this year, but to see them, like, more or less take over the first half of that game. Like, we were sitting there saying, is Texas about to just run away with this thing? I'm looking at the BetMGM app, and I'm like, Texas minus 13.5 live when they're up by like 17 at this point. I feel good about that. I feel good about that number. Now, I didn't take it because I was like, Diego Pavi's on the other side. I'm going to let this thing sit for a second. But the ability for Texas to just bully some of these teams, that's always going to be there, I think. In the Florida game, it feels a little bit funny with the way that Billy Napier is no longer the head coach there, what Florida was, with how they finished this season. That's a good offensive line in Florida. So my point in all this is Texas and that front seven is who we thought they were in the preseason. Now, they haven't had the results they wanted to have as an overall team, but that defense, that front seven, they have been more than good enough this year, and they showed it yesterday with some help from the offense. Diego Pavi and Vanderbilt, a lot of what they do is built off of the RPO and misdirection. Texas very early on in the early part of this game, you said, like, hey, fudge your misdirection. We're hunting you. We're tougher than you. We're better personnel than you. We're coming after you. We don't care what eye candy you give us. We're coming in hot. Best of luck. And that was kind of the game in the first half for Texas. Now, I say all that, and we just have to mention this. It should not have been a 3-point game yesterday if you're a Texas fan. It shouldn't have been. We all understand that. We saw Texas get up big, should have been able to keep that lead, should have a funny word right now in college football, but it stands. I think the next step for Texas here is you got to see them have the ability to cut the head off the snake when they got it teed up. Like, the points that Vanderbilt scored to climb back into this game was a coverage bust from Texas. You had a linebacker aligned a little bit too far to one side that allowed for an easy bang route, essentially, a glance, if you will, from Eli Stowers. Like, it was stuff that Texas was gifting to Vanderbilt. And that's not taking anything away from Vanderbilt, but the point stands for Texas. Yeah, you miss Michael Taft, but these guys that are a little bit inexperienced, especially on the back end for Texas, we can't have that in the month of November. Like, we are playing with zero safety net. We can't have that against Georgia. Georgia's made a living off of coming from behind when it comes to what they've been this season. Texas A&M, you give them a couple of extra inches of daylight like you did Vanderbilt yesterday, they're going to hang 40. So for Texas, yes, you're happy to win. You saw a lot of good things, but there is a lot to clean up here. The good news, though, you're so close. Like, the mental errors, I'd much rather clean those up than the physical errors on the defensive side of the football any given week. Now, for Vanderbilt, a couple notes here. I just want to make sure we have this moment because I think a lot of people now are going to be very quick to say, Vanderbilt lost to Texas. We knew they weren't real. We knew they were always fool's gold. Vanderbilt's still going to be Vanderbilt, whatever. Vanderbilt's still real. That's still a really good Texas team that just quite frankly has better players than Vanderbilt. But Vanderbilt is still real. If Vanderbilt wasn't real, we would have seen them fold yesterday in the second half, and they didn't. Kept fighting, kept battling, made it a game. Heck, I was impressed by Diego Pavia, the thrower of the football. Like, my question every week whenever we break down a Vanderbilt game is, okay, that's great you run the ball. What happens, though, if you can't run the ball? What happens if you don't have the misdirection working? And like Texas said early in that game, they said, screw your misdirection. We're coming after you. Do you have answers off of that? And Diego Pavia yesterday going for 365, he was the answer. So credit to Vanderbilt. They're not fool's gold. I wouldn't want to play them down the stretch. Vanderbilt's not back to old Vanderbilt. Just lost a football game to a team with better players at their place. In a spot now for Vanderbilt, too, where you had a big emotional win with College Game Day in town the week before, and you regressed a little bit. So, Texas, are they going to be a college football playoff team? I have a hard time saying that given their schedule, but they're in the conversation. and with where you were early on in the year, where everyone's questioning if Arch Manning's even the right guy at quarterback for Texas, quite frankly, and should start be calling plays and all that, I think that is worth something and should at least be talked about relative to the Longhorns this season. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Cato on the ones and twos. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD PicKell. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time.